Hi guys, welcome back to another plan with me. Today we are going to be using this beautiful paper pad along with the Happy Planner box sponge to create a beautiful spread in the classic Happy Planner. So keep on watching. To start setting up my spread, I already started with the washi tape, which is this one, this thicker washi tape from Recollections from Michaels also, and I cut it into 1/4 inch strips, and then I added some white sticker paper to the lines that were already on my pages to cover up that color. Since this one is more like a transparent and gold foil, that color was gonna totally show through the washi tape. And even though that would have matched just fine my spread and my paper, still I wanted them to be just purely white and gold to have some contrast between those and the pink boxes that I was gonna be creating with this beautiful paper pad. So I did that, and then I simply placed my washi tape on top of those. And here is a flip through the pattern papers that I chose for today's spread. This is a smaller paper pad. It is not one of those big 12 by 12. It's really nice for these smaller spreads. Anyhow, I haven't seen these paper pads in a while at Michaels, but hopefully they will be bringing them back soon because they had a lot of different designs, different themes, and they were all so beautiful. Now to punch out my first box, I chose this pattern, but I couldn't get the paper punch as deep into the pattern as I wanted it to be, so I simply cut a slit into my pattern paper in order to get the exact area in the pattern that I wanted. Also notice that while I was flipping through my paper pad, I had 2 sheets of each design. Anyhow, this came with 3 sheets of each design, which is a lot. You can create a lot of spreads with that amount of pages. Anyhow, I shared 1 of each design, so that's why I don't have 3 of each one anymore. Being that said, I continued to punch out different boxes that I thought I could be wanting to use in this spread because I felt like it was gonna be easier to have them pre-punched before starting to place anything down in my pages. And I chose those patterns that I liked the most, and this paper pad is really nice because it has some label kind of patterns and also these strips that you can easily just punch out a box like this one and it will look so beautiful. But in my case, I decided to pull out the page because I was going to cut it with my paper trimmer to use it as actual strips of paper, almost like either washi tape or in this case, as you can see in there, as checklists, which you could have done with that lacy design also and use each scallop as a checkpoint. In my case, I only chose that thinner strip of paper that you can see in my page already with those flowers because they look again like bullet points or checkpoints. Perfect for any checklist throughout your spread. And now I will be using my paper trimmer again to cut out a longer strip of paper. It will be slightly wider than 1.5 inches because it will be for the sidebar, and the sidebar has a little more of a space than the boxes throughout the week since it has like a little margin in white in between the edge of the page and the box from Monday. So I was able to, use up a little more of that beautiful pattern by making that strip a little wider than a regular box. And of course, I saved that beautiful strip that I had left over from there. And I have this like quote box that is bigger than the Happy Planner punch, so I cut it by hand. And I decided to cut around that beautiful floral arrangement on the top and the bottom just to add more detail to my spread. It was very easy. I cut around it, leaving a little bit of border. So it wasn't extremely precise, which made it really easy. And I could have used even more washi tape for the sidebar, but I decided to use those beautiful strips of paper that I had cut out before. And I used them again for the sidebar to fully fill in that space space. I feel like this added a lot to the spread and it made it look so beautiful and put together. And of course, instead of the gold foiling washi tape that I used throughout my spread, I could have just cut out some strips of pattern paper of any of the pattern papers and used them almost like washi tape. I just wanted to add a little more of contrast, like I said at the beginning, which is why I went with this almost completely gold foiled washi tape. Although it has a beautiful design, it's not completely gold foiled, and the design matches so well the papers because it's like very elegant and dainty and beautiful, just like this paper pad. And now that I have been placing everything in my spread and sticking everything down, I have been using my runner adhesive from Scotch. You can use any that you may have, and this one is like the dotted one, so if you get some adhesive where you don't want it to be in your page, you can just like scrub it with your finger. There are also adhesive erasers that you can get if you don't want to do that with your finger. Sometimes I just use my regular pencil eraser where I get a little more of a stubborn piece of adhesive in my pages, and that works just fine for me, but there are different options. There is also a nice glue stick or glue pencil in different stores, local and probably online as well. So you could check that out. I have never tried it, but I have seen a lot of Plan With Me's and people in the planner community using it and they swear by it. So I really want to give that one a try one day. I want to get it and try it myself because it sounds like a great alternative also, because it is not exactly a glue stick, since glue sticks for me are way too messy, although they are supposed to be mess free, but for me they are too messy, so I don't like to use those. But this like pencil, glue pencil or something like that sounds really great. But for now I'm just using my tape adhesive. And here I am trying to place this little label that I cut out from the paper pad, but it was too big for what I wanted it, so I could have cut it and just use one half for this spread or each half in a different place of this spread. But I really liked the full design of the box, like to use the entire label box instead of splitting it up. So what I did was to cut it and then put it back together again by removing a few butterflies, and that way I was able to get a better size of label for my boxes. And as you can see, I am trying to do some layering with my boxes because otherwise I feel like all boxes and all rectangles would have looked a little too boxy and too boring. So with the layering you add a lot more of interest to your spread. Of course, you could take your time and cut out different elements from the papers, like the butterflies or even the flowers, like I did with that quote box. I used them basically as deco stickers that would have looked so beautiful also, but of course that takes more time. And just as a heads up, this spread took me the longest that it has taken me in any spread this year, and it really was a lot, but it was worth it. You know, it was different. I really look forward to try something like this again. Maybe I will get the hang of it next time, because this was the first time I was doing something like this in a while. So that also took me a bit of time to figure out what I like or not. And in my last video, I DIY'd these like ruler and marks for my paper punch. So go and check that out if you haven't. And now I am using it to create a very even border all around. And that's a way to create your own label stickers. In this case, like a label full box sticker where I have my beautiful pattern design in the background, in the borders, but I have some really nice space to write it down for the day. And then I will use the scrapped paper that I had from the beginning that I saved along with my Happy Planner stencils to create a weekend banner. And I decided to trace this skinny flag 7 times for each letter of the word, and this was also really fun to see how it came together and very easy as well. And I traced them on the back of my pattern paper so that I didn't have to be so careful when cutting them out with my scissors. But if you want to keep the outline, you can also trace them on the front of the pattern paper. And the stencil makes it a little easier and nicer in my opinion, but you don't need any stencil to create some flags. They're pretty easy to make without a stencil. Anyhow, as you can see here, I also traced a few other shapes. Maybe the hexagon would be a little trickier to make without any stencil, and with this stencil a hexagon is very easy to create from any piece of paper, washi tape, or even from a deco sticker or a full box sticker. And the same can be done with stamps. Instead of tracing from a stencil, you would be just stamping your image and then cutting it out. If you have a paper punch in those shapes, then even better, but if you don't, this is a very easy to create in those little shapes. Especially because at the point of cutting them out with your scissors, there will be very short straight cut lines, which makes it super quick and nice. And then I started to think that it would have been a bit annoying to have to add adhesive to each little flag individually, so what I did was to go with my runner adhesive and add adhesive before cutting them apart, and that made it super easy as well. You could have traced them all together instead of leaving that space in between them, and that would have been even faster to cut. But other than that, this was a very quick and easy process. You can also place them in wax paper or in a sticker backing sheet while you cut them all apart, or if you want to keep them on your desk and use them throughout the week. But because I already knew how I wanted to use them and where, I just went ahead straight to my pages and placed them on my weekend. And planning with pattern paper is a little more time consuming than using just only stickers, but it is also a little more budget friendly. I think the Happy Planner box sponge is worth it. It makes the process a lot easier and more enjoyable. But even if at first you cannot afford it, the boxes are fairly easy to create without the punch. So you would only need any kind of pattern paper, some kind of adhesive, and your scissors. I would recommend a paper trimmer though, because a paper trimmer, I feel like it is essential in any craft room. But again, if you cannot buy it, you can just use your scissors. And here for the weekend banner, you can easily write the word yourself, but I had these stickers and they are in gold foiling, so they're very small and they match really well my spread, for which I decided to just go ahead and use them because I knew that with my handwriting it was not gonna turn out as nicely, and I really love how it turns out. I think it's so tiny and cute. And those letter stickers are from Recollections from Michael's as well. And then I simply repeated the same process with the other shapes that I traced. This time I started with the adhesive and then I cut them out with very short straight cuts. And I think that all of these little different shapes add a lot of more interest and like dynamic and flow to the spread. So I think it's totally worth going through the trouble of creating these extra shapes. Again, they are very easy and fast to create, so why not? And yet another way to create shapes like this is to create them first in your computer, and then you can print them out in cardstock and create stencils, or you can simply print them directly to your pattern paper. I would feed the paper into my printer upside down to print them in the back of the paper, and then you simply cut them out with your scissors as well. Or Or of course, you can always fit your pattern paper into your silhouette or Cricut machine and cut out different shapes from it like that. And I'll be using this spread for a week in February. It is the week of the President's Day, so I put my coffee cup on Tuesday because it's a long weekend, and then this President's Day script sticker from the Happy Planner on top of this full box. I had completely forgotten that, so I decided to place it on top of that full box to leave as much space to write on that day as I could. And then I simply finished placing down my checklist for the week. And honestly, I don't remember it anymore if I mentioned this or not, but at the very beginning, I had like these cream boxes that I chose not to use in this spread because I felt like I didn't love how those look with all the gray boxes. So for this spread, I opted for the grays, and then I saved the cream ones for another spread where I can slightly change the color combo that I use in the spread, and that way it will look even more different than this one. And as you can see, I am just creating a flag to add to this label box because it was looking a little bit plain. I felt like it needed a little something, and I really like the detail that that little flag added to it. Then I used the marks that I added to my punch to create some half boxes to do pretty much what I already did with my full box label. So after punching out the half boxes from my pattern paper, I went ahead and I created the center for them, or the writing area, out of this grid paper from the Happy Planner, using again the marks in my paper punch. And even though the marks in my paper punch helped me to create the perfect size of boxes, the dot grid in the sheets really helped me aligning it so that it wouldn't turn out crooked with one side higher than the other. Then I just used some bullet point stickers to layer on top of the arrows that I had created with my pattern paper, and that again add just a little detail that add a lot more of interest, and that in my opinion looks really pretty. And the pink in the top flag wasn't really matching the pinks in the papers, so I decided to add a little piece of washi tape to it, and that tied up everything really nicely. And that's it, you guys. I hope you like it as much as I do. I hope you learned something, or at least got some inspiration to create a beautiful spread in your own planner using pattern papers. And thank you so much for watching, guys. Until next time, take care. Bye!